Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is another sketchbook tour. This time I will show you this A4 Royal Talens sketchbook. I have a couple of stickers here on the cover. On top it just says creative as F, which I thought was pretty hilarious. And at the bottom we have this little raccoon and this sticker of this woman in her pop art universe looking at a painting that is in a different style, which I just thought was so cool. And here we have a couple more stickers on this opening page. I mean, who doesn't love stickers? So here on the left there's some feminist stickers, and this big one here in the middle is by Kazland, and those two down here by Monkey Mintaka. And the rest I don't really know anymore, sorry. So let's get started. So this was my travel palette of all the materials I took when I went on this urban sketching trip last year in Prague. So this is a mixed media palette. It's organized like a color wheel with the lighter values in the middle and the darker values on the edges. So this sketchbook is not super recent, but also not that old. And I've been planning on showing you this since I started this channel. This urban sketching trip was just so cool, and this gives me a chance to share it with you a bit. So here I wanted to draw a map of Prague where I could mark all the places we went to do urban sketching. And I thought I'd start with the river and the green areas to give me some orientation, but then I ended up just leaving it like it is, because I kinda like it. So this is our teacher, of course, a great urban sketcher called Jenny Adam. And on the first morning we discussed material and color selection before heading out. And once we were on the first location, we started with some exercises to practice various techniques of quick and loose sketching. You know, silhouettes, one-line drawings and that sort of thing. So here I have a little negative space sketch. Totally realistic, and just some limited color palettes I was testing out. And then this was my first urban sketch on this little square next to a beautiful church. As you can see, I first did two little thumbnails to decide on the spot and the perspective. And then once I had selected it, I only used 3 acrylic markers in blue, but in different values, to capture this scene. And I quite like how this turned out. At the next location there were these amazing and kind of disturbing sculptures of huge babies. So of course I had to incorporate them. I put this little person here next to it so we can understand the scale of the sculpture. Basically, we were supposed to use a limited color palette and combine a few little scenes as a way of capturing this place on a big spread. And here we went to a really famous bridge and talked about how to show depth in sketches. In this case, I chose to make it fade away with a really light yellow hue. Too light, probably. Oh, and here you can see Jenny doing a demonstration. Here I sketched a scene with one of the other participants, again using a limited color palette. That's me sketching. Just so you know, I'm blurring the other participants because Germans take data privacy really seriously, and I obviously want to respect that. So we were in these amazing kind of vertical gardens where you had to climb lots of stairs to explore all the different levels. And at the top you have this incredible view over Prague. And here on the left you can already see the tower I sketched. So since I already did a first sketch at the bottom, I didn't have that much time left once I reached the top. But I still wanted to squeeze in one more sketch. So I used markers and new colors, and I actually like how this turned out. And at the end of the day, after the program was finished, most of us went to a meeting of the urban sketchers in Prague. It took place at a little circus festival, so I sketched these 2 performers in front of a crowd of people. But it was actually super hot that day and I was already really tired. So then I sat down somewhere, got myself a nice cold drink, and I just painted this beautiful little tree instead of the circus performers. The next day we spent in the historical center. It's so beautiful, you guys. So we started by trying to capture this busy street after watching a demonstration by Jenny first. And I think this is not bad. Here you see the view that we had. I kind of like how I framed the street with these greens here, but didn't paint them in with any color. I just wish it wasn't quite in the middle of the spread. Then at the next location, we sat down on a little roundabout and sketched the view looking into this a bit quieter street. I made sure to add the taxi, so we still get a sense of the time we're in and it doesn't look too quaint and pretty. I quite like these house facades there in the center, this negative space tree and the lack of details on the right. But I'm not totally sure if it was the right choice to add all these details here in the lower left corner. What do you think? For this next sketch, we were only allowed 3 materials each, and then we had to swap materials halfway through with a partner, which is why there is purple in this sketch. I normally kinda hate purple, you guys, but somehow in combination with this turquoise, I actually find it kinda cool. Here we are on another day, and we started by doing some material layering tests to see what kind of effects and textures we could create. This is, of course, always a fun activity to do. I did some other sketches in a different sketchbook, and then in the evening we went to a jazz club, which is on a boat. So cool. It was actually my birthday that day. And of course we all sketched during the jazz performance. And it's just such a cool memory for me to see this. The next day we had the morning off, and so I went to the historical center again, and when I stumbled on this market, I decided to get a nice iced coffee, sit down and draw the scene. The perspective wasn't easy, and it's funny to see it now side by side with the photo and noticing all these differences in scale. Here I tried to do a super speedy sketch of this church by only painting the parts in the shadow, but we had very little time, so it was tough. There I am, struggling. On this next day we went to this cool tower that you'll see more of later. And of course we had to stop on the way to do a first sketch from far away. I chose this page that was prepped with some acrylic marker, and I decided to just capture the tower with the tops of the historical facades in front. And yes, those are crazy baby sculptures climbing the tower. I made this super dramatic sky, and while I didn't like this at all at first, I kinda enjoy this sketch now. Then, of course, we went inside and up the tower, and this was a panoramic view over Prague. And then we had half an hour to sketch it. I again used a prepped page, but guys, I struggled so much. This is all I managed to do, and I was happy to abandon this sketch afterwards. I really don't know how people do these panoramic sketches. And the last activity we did was sketching during a boat tour. I just used a rainbow pencil and placed different things randomly on the page. There's that tower again, and just all kinds of other buildings I saw. I especially like this one with the curves because of the beautiful warm gradients I managed to achieve there. And that was the last spread I did in Prague. The next day I traveled to Dresden, which is in the east of Germany, so not far from the Czech Republic. I met up with my boyfriend and we continued our vacation together. And so here I sketched a very famous church in the city center of Dresden. In the evening we hung out next to the river to watch the sunset, and where you have a great view on the historical center. But instead of drawing the buildings, I just did a skyline or skylines. But this lower one is just the continuation that should be on the left side here. Back at our rental apartment, I took some of the pamphlets that I had taken from Prague to just make a last scrapbooky page with some memories. There's that tower again, the famous bridge, and some photos from the center. And the next day we went to this museum, and they actually had some really great art. I didn't sketch though, so I just glued in some stuff to still have the memory. I still have to tape this in. And this is just another sketch of the historical center. Then here we went to the botanical gardens, and I made this kind of ugly sketch. But I managed to get in the cat that some people brought in a baby carriage. That was so funny. And here I made this ink drawing of my boyfriend, but I have to say, I really didn't do him justice here. He's way cuter than that, guys. Oh, and here I just had to glue in this picture of a still life painting from the museum. I just love it so much. Look at how ridiculously over the top this is, guys. Look at those animals eating all kinds of meat down there, the huge lobster, the instruments. It's just so outrageous, and so I thought it was too funny. I just really wanted to remember it. Then this I did using the frottage technique. You know, it's when you have some relief, some 3D structure, and you just hold your page up in front of it, and you use a pencil or whatever to scratch over it, capturing the structure. There I am, making this page. Just look at this texture. I mean, you could never achieve this look in a different way. So I just immediately had to do another one, which was this lady. But the silhouette didn't really show. So in this case, I just added a few lines to clarify the image. And yeah, I love this so much. I really should do it more often. That night we went to get some ramen, and the restaurant had these cool bowls. So I made a quick study and later colored it in with some new paints that we had bought. You know how it is, guys. Whenever you're on a trip, you have to go to the local art store and buy something you might as well have gotten at home. Them's the rules. So here I just did some swatches, and on the left some color mixing. So at this point we're in a different city in Eastern Germany, in Leipzig, and we actually decided to go to the zoo because they have a pretty great one there. And so I dedicated this page to all kinds of funny birds we saw there. And these are some flowers that I probably saw in the zoo too. And this was back at home in Belgium, just a random imaginary portrait where I layered some inks. I quite like the effect of this layering. And then there's this awful interior, which we'll just skip and pretend that we never saw it. Oh, this is actually a sketch I love. We went to Antwerp for the day, and there was this scene next to a museum. And so I created this page back at home, just using some graphite pencil, some acrylic markers, and one colored pencil, I think. I quite like this crazy sky where we still see those acrylic marks, the dark graphite lines, and of course this pool, which I think works pretty well. Now these are 3 workers I saw waiting for the tram one day, and somehow I just wanted to draw them. So here they are, forever captured in my sketchbook. And this is from an Odd Orange drawing session about tools. I clearly remember this. I really liked the texture I got here for those tongues. I think I used a gelato, and I think it captured that metallic texture so well. Ah yes, here it says odd orange. And on this page I made some colorful negative space drawing for this still life of scissors. And this was pretty cute. On the right, these are all the tools that you need for bookbinding. And of course Morgan, the owner of Odd Orange, she hand makes sketchbooks. So this was very fitting for her session, and I even learned a few things. Now this was another free drawing session hosted by Shivam Choudhary. He gave some tips in the beginning, like keeping the shapes simple and focusing on negative space. This is Tombow spritzed with water, by the way. He uses this technique quite a bit. And then we drew some people from references he selected. Shivam is from India, so we had some ladies in these beautiful clothes. I really like this one. It's a basic graphite sketch with a yellow acrylic background. Now this one I don't like, so I just went right back to graphite and wonky lines, which I almost always enjoy. Now here we are immediately in another drawing session. I guess I was in need of some inspiration those days. So Scribble Brigade is something that is hosted by Sophie McPike. Some of them are freely available on her YouTube channel, so you can check these out. In this case, we were painting some super quick landscapes, literally a minute or two probably, maybe even less. Some are a bit rough, but some others turn out quite well. I really like those two here on the right. And here we are in a Fast Faces drawing session, this time hosted by TJ Marston with a guest speaker. Now you know, sometimes the introduction takes a little while, so I just started by sketching her while she was explaining some things, and I actually love how these turned out. I think everything works here. The quick and thick graphite lines, the composition, and the color palette. So yeah, I really like this page, and I should probably use this as inspiration. So I guess she was saying that you could make this library of facial features, and then you can always just pick and combine them when you're illustrating something. It's not totally my style, but still a pretty great idea. And then we painted this from a reference image they provided. Not everything here is good, I think, but I really like the shading and smudging with gelatos that I did here. Oh, and here I was testing a color palette with some acrylic markers, but then I saw this robot lady in the shapes that I had created, and so I just decided to add some lines, and now I guess it's a painting of some kind of android queen of the future. Oh, this is something I drew from Instagram. I searched, but I could not find the reference pictures anymore, so sorry. Basically, it was these photos of a one-eyed chihuahua eating this huge soft ice cream, and he was just so cute in his little t-shirt that I just had to draw him. And I really like how this turned out, with this ink background that I added, like he really pops. Next, we have some animals that I drew using only gelatos, I think. Now, I seem to remember that this was someone's drawing session, but unfortunately I didn't write it down anywhere, so I can't tell you who it was. I don't really like most of these, but this one with the meerkats, well, I think I went a little crazy, but there's something about all these scribbles that I like. Maybe I just shouldn't have done it here in the bushes, but the sky is kind of cool, I think. And I mean, meerkats are just too funny. I love them so much. Here we have another weird creature and this tiny cityscape that I actually really like. It has a cool vibe somehow. And then here we have some crazy spider and some color palette. Nothing special, let's move on. Now this pattern I immediately recognize. I've copied it a few times, and this is from Sophie McPike again. She does these kind of patterns a lot, and I think it can be a great way to test a color palette and to do something kind of meditative. I really loved this color selection, so I did that sketch on the right using the exact same materials. Here I did another one of the same pattern, this time trying a combination of acrylic gouache. And some brush exercises here. And this was supposed to become a landscape with leftover paint, but I never finished it. Now this started out as kind of a regular sketch, but then I realized that somehow it was looking like anime. So I guess I just reinforced that vibe and I added what I thought was kind of a fitting background. So there you go. A bit out of character for me, but it just kind of happened. And here I just practiced some beagles. Now this is a test to see if I could make a star sky using only Neocolor tools, and I ended up really loving this. I really want to use this someday for some painting or sketch. I just love that texture and the color combination. And here we have some random funny bunny, why not? And another kind of random doodle. Sometimes I just draw whatever flows from the imagination or the subconscious. What do you think this says about me, guys? Who wants to psychoanalyze this for me? Now this, I'm pretty sure, are some studies I did from a history of graphic design book we got. You see, I noted some of the creators and the years sometimes. I like how posters are often these really graphic illustrations, with a really strong concept. And I think there's always something to learn from them for paintings. And here's a gallery wall. Sometimes I just make these tiny paintings to test palettes or compositions. And one day I realized you can just turn them really easily into gallery wall paintings. And I think it's just fun, and I always end up liking those pages. So why not? Give it a try, guys. Here's another sketch of my boyfriend, a slightly better one this time. I guess we had some fun making some art one day in the weekend, and here I captured him drawing something with a fistful of colored pencils. He likes experimenting as much as me, so we have fun with our supplies. And here we just have some material tests and swatches, which means that we reach the end of the sketchbook. I often do this on the last pages. Here at the end I glued in a map of Prague city center, so I could compare my map from the beginning and find the spots we went to. It was all mostly in this area here. Anyway, so this was the entire sketchbook. The Royal Talens ones are always big, because they have like 80 pages or so. I really love having all these memories of the vacation in the beginning, but also generally. What's your favorite painting or drawing in the sketchbook? I'm really curious to know what you think. I really can't decide on this one. There's really quite a few I love. As always, I want to say a big thank you for watching. Of course, every like, comment and subscribe really means a lot to me, and it could be your little way of helping me and my channel. I hope you enjoyed sharing this time and all these memories with me. I hope to see you next week for another video. Bye and peace. Stay creative and take care.